everyone. My name is Errol Lewis from Soap Opera Network, and we are talking with Gregory Zarian, who you very well may know from 86 Melrose Avenue. We're here today to talk to Gregory about his new movie, That's Amor, which is currently on Netflix. Gregory, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Same. I'm doing very well, thank you. So tell us about this new movie of yours, That's Amor, which is about love and cooking.
This is, they go hand in hand. Cooking,
Right.
cooking for some is the language of love. For me, if I had to choose, cleaning up the kitchen is the language of love because I am not a cook. It is a movie where, there was a time in our lives where people would meet and fall in love, and it wasn't about an app or being online. It was about meeting and finding your person in life. And the movie's about this young lady, Sophia, whose life turns around when she turns 30, and her mother drags her to a cooking class. And Sophia is played by the amazing Riley Dandy, and I'm part of the cooking class experience, and love ensues over gazpacho and paella. How's that?
Well, I have to say, when your character's first introduced, everyone, I guess, is introducing themselves as couples. So you're playing a gay character. Your character's name is David. So tell us about David and his relationship with Todd.
David is married to Todd, and Todd is played by my dear, dear friend, Paul Whitten, and that is how I became part of this movie. Paul is very good friends with Amor, who also acts in the movie, and she's one of the producers. She is part of the ESX Entertainment family, Ali Ashvar, and this charming movie is written by Tiffany DuPont, Ali Ashvar, and John Ducey. And it's this great love story. And when they reached out to Paul, because one thing about the business, which I'm sure you get, is you want to work with people you really enjoy, people you have history with. It's more than just hiring great actors. It's also, telling a great story with people that you genuinely care for and nice people. And they had a history with Paul, and Christina said to Paul, "Hey, do you know somebody that could play your husband?" And Paul immediately reached out to me. And I said, "I do," even though I'm already married. So I said, "I do" again. And, here's what's great about this experience with Paul during COVID. Everyone, went through their own process. We all are still surviving a global pandemic, any way you look at it. And Paul and I would spend time in my backyard, and we became a lot closer. And, phones were off, and you can know someone, and then you can really know someone. So when we showed up on set, we'd also spent a little time, and I asked Paul very intimate questions, boxers are brief. Do you snore? Don't you snore? Do you cook? Do you clean? Do you, wipe toothpaste up off the sink? And I think those answers with somebody that you are very intimately involved with.
Right.
And for me, when I create a character, even though we're dear friends, there's those intimate nuances that were really important for me to uncover and discover. So when we showed up and got hired, one thing that I'm really proud of is we look and feel like a real married couple. And I'm really proud of that. And what's great about this movie, Errol, is it wasn't about, and let's have the token gay couple. It was,
nope.
Here we have David and Todd, and they happen to be married. John Ducey and Suleika Matthews, who play the other couple.
Yeah. What's funny is that you mentioned that. There was a scene in the movie where the owner's wife, when she's meeting the mother and the daughter for their joining the cooking club or the cooking class, she's a little taken aback, not by the fact that they're possibly two lesbian women before she realizes they're mother and daughter, but that I guess there's maybe the age difference. I guess maybe that's at most that really made put some attention on that aspect, but it definitely was not any issues with anyone's same gender or anything like that.
No, and here's what I thought was charming about that, because I was played by Arlene Tour, was the relationship between mom and daughter, Nancy Linehan and Marley Dandy. And when she said it's a couple, and she went, "We're a couple." And what I loved is this movie really portrays mom and daughter as friends. My mom was one of my very best friends. My father, who passed away years ago, became one of my closest friends. And, I'm Middle Eastern, and I would hold my father's hand. And I would, in my culture, you kiss your parent. There's very much a level of respect and also friendship. So I loved that our director, Sean Piccinino, really allowed that friendship between mom and daughter through in this movie. Because at the end of the day, Errol, we are our parents' child. And how lovely to portray such, I love Nancy Linehan, and I would hug her every day we worked together. And I'm like, you play the mom. You're not my mom, but just hug me as if. And it's really these sweet moments in the job that I get, in the stories that I get to tell, that
Yeah.
create these really lovely friendships.
Wow. Um, there's a lot of people who have, like in my personal life, who've been losing someone that they love dearly. One of my friends, she just lost her mother last week, and another one of my mother's friends, she passed away. And so, to your point, there's nothing like a mother's friendship and love, but it doesn't necessarily have to be your birth mom. It could be like an extended family member or friend who can give you that mom feeling. And so, it just that comfort that we all need,
No,
Um,
I do. It's we get to choose our family, and
right,
we get to, I am so grateful that when I think of my parents, and I've lost both of them, they are in heaven. Uh, I miss them. My parents did the best they could, and
right,
as I say to anyone that still has their parents, and there's a bit of distance or not speaking, or my dad did this and my mom did that. Well, like they did. One, what is your part in that? And two, how lucky that you still have your parents. Pick up the phone, work out your crap. And
yeah,
a lot of the times we get to say, hey, you know what? I made a mistake here too, and I'm sorry. So when I think of my parents, I just miss my parents because everything was said and done. And the only thing I miss is them. There's
right,
nothing they did or didn't say. So I'm very grateful that they live within me and I get to talk about how great my
right.
relationship with them became and now is.
And so, with the power of the friendship between the mother and the daughter, the mother, in this case, in this movie, she gets into her daughter's business a little too much and tries to get her to find new romance, which is ironic considering she had just broken up with her boyfriend who cheated on her, who's played by Brian Craig, formerly of General Hospital. um, did you get to work with Brian and share any scenes with him?
I did. Yeah, he was in one of the cooking scenes. And,
Right,
of course, you always have that wanting to woo the one you've betrayed back because you feel
right.
guilty just until you cheat on them again. It's so funny because this is what was so great about being part of this movie, Errol, is it was one of the biggest love bubbles I've ever been part of. We shot it last year, so it's still very COVID and very aware, and we were all very protected. Excuse me, was when we met, hey, nice to meet you, hey, nice to meet you, but when cameras started rolling, Paul and I were very protective of Riley Sophia. And it was just interesting to look at Brian and be like, you have to come through us to get to her. So sit your ass down.
Right.
So there was very much this, art imitating life. Um, because when you spend so much time telling a story, and again, we're in an intimate cooking class. So we spent hours and days together. And in between takes, hey, what do you do? What do you do? Hey, what's over there? So you actually form these relationships. And what I love is the feeling of our characters really protecting Riley. And then you have the lead, Matthias, who's played by Isaac Rossi, who's playing the possible love interest to be part of that unfolding of this possible relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, because we shot it in real time, you actually feel us really open to him and open up to them. I love my job and I get to, you know what I'm saying? We
Right.
got to fall in love with him. We got to be protective of her. And then in the process, I learned how to make gazpacho.
Right. I was just gonna say, like, so in addition to all that, going to the core of I guess, their love is the core, but what really brings it all together is the love of cooking.
Sure.
And so when you and Todd, or your David and Todd, were making all those dishes, but now as you yourself, what was your favorite dish to make? Do you guys actually make those dishes?
We
When
did. They wanted it to be really truthful, and they sent us YouTube links and said, "This is what you are creating." I am by no means a cook, so I very much gave Paul, who played Todd, the knife, and I said, "You cut, you chop, you slice, you dice, and I will very much participate in the seasoning and the sea salt and the lemon." I feel that in a relationship you find your pros and your cons,
right.
and he was very much okay, and it became very symbiotic. So I learned how to, and here's the thing too, with spices and seasonings, and we together created our own dishes with the basics of what they wanted us to do.
Right.
So it was very much learning as we went, and it was a joy to do with him.
You know, I just moved into a new apartment in LA here, and I'm learning how to really cook on my own, considering
How's,
that I
how's that?
usually would either eat takeout when I was back in New York, or I would get a home cooked meal somehow, some way. And so cooking is turning into a joy, because I find myself cooking food more for myself than going outdoors and taking in takeout. but also I just love the fact that you're just able to throw ingredients into a dish and then it just tastes good, hopefully.
I
And
know, right?
so the thought of taking a cooking class has never really, I guess, been put in my head because I'd be a little scared of looking like a failure or being the one that doesn't know what I'm doing and looking like, I don't know, the loser in the class. So I commend you, of course, for your role in the movie because that does kind of inspire me to want to take a cooking class
Well,
myself.
then if you sign up for one, please let me know and I will join with you since you're
Oh,
running.
thank you. Thank you.
But how fun though, because we're learning things. What was really great though is again, Daniel Moore, who played the chef, he was really going through the process with us. So you add this and you add that. And what I realized through this cooking process, it's really just what you genuinely enjoy. Somebody asked me recently, what's the one thing about cooking that you do? And I said, well, sometimes if I ever will order a steak or a filet mignon, I really like taking a lemon wedge and just squeezing lemon on my steak. It adds that little bit of citrus to it.
Right.
I love it. So it's just finding things that
Yeah, and I know that in one of those, I guess the first dish that you all made was eggs. Now, on the surface, it's eggs, but in reality, the other ingredients you add just make the eggs that much better. The extra touch, the extra, I guess, love or tension that you put into it just enhances not just the flavor, but the concept of cooking. Because you can just say,
oh,
"Oh, I made some eggs," but no, you made some eggs.
you made, as in the movie Huevos, you add tomatoes, you add peppers, I'm very much a big fan of Himalayan salt. It's
Yeah,
actually, there are some healing properties in it. And it's just not about just dousing your eggs with Himalayan salt. It's doing the half a grind, the half a turn, do you want soft eggs, hard eggs, in the movie, you actually see Paul, we feed each other, and he says, we were so genuinely proud of ourselves. And people reached out. It's funny. They're like, oh my God, it shows that you had so much joy, but that was real. Because
yeah.
we cooked our eggs and we added our own, tomatoes and eggs and mushrooms. And it was genuinely, we were super proud of ourselves. We're like, yay, look what we did. Because we're not big cooks. So it was authentically
Right.
joyous for us.
Well, that's good to know because when fans watch the movie and they realize that the actors were actually doing exactly what the characters are doing, which is learning for the most part for the first time on the concept of cooking food. I mean, and I know it's more Spanish dishes, but still, it's just the concept itself of getting together and being able to just make something out of nothing, like make it from scratch. Because you know the ingredients are in there, you know how much of it's in there. Obviously, you know the calories in that
Sure.
case.
But it's
There's
all
nothing like
fun.
that. So that's more. I
It is.
believe spent at least 2 weeks in the top 10, global top 10, in fact, on Netflix. I believe it peaked at number 4.
It did.
Any information on whether they might be interested in doing another movie, whether with the same characters, like a sequel, or maybe the producers might be interested in using the cast in a different feature with playing different roles?
It was such a loving cast, and what's so great about ESX Entertainment, they have a few more movies coming out on HBO Max, um, coming out this holiday. Uh, they love who they love, and it's this great love bubble. Somebody threw out a possible, excuse me, a possible sequel, and of course, David and Todd would love to be part of that sequel. What's great about this business is you get to work with the same people because again, it's more than just the actors. You want to be with a crew that you
Right.
trust and you believe in, and they are one of the best love bubbles I've ever been part of. So hopefully, it's only the beginning of me and um, Paul and this great production company that tells really, really sweet stories.
Yeah.
And what I love is that people have come up to me and said they love the inclusion of us, Todd and David, and they love that it was just, oh, they happened to be a gay couple. It wasn't this big. Oh my God, look. And I hope this is where the world keeps on going. And with this production company, it's just telling a great story, and we happen to include a lot of the colors in the crime box.
Well, if I recall correctly, I think they set it up perfectly for a possible sequel where our main characters are basically heading off to Spain, not right away, but eventually, because our lovely lady, she got into a school in Spain that I guess would allow her to find herself with her romantic partner, but he actually went to Spain or was going to Spain, sorry, was going to Spain, but then she caught him. So I'm spoiling something, so I apologize. But it's very twisty. So I would love to see more on that Spanish part because I love Spain. I've never been, but all the beautiful places I've seen, the people, of course. I mean, it's just a very beautiful place to go. And so definitely love to see more of the movie with these characters because there's definitely a setup for a sequel. I'm just saying.
You know,
So,
and David and Todd need to come. But here's also the thing
course,
too,
I mean, eventually there has to be a wedding, right?
and who doesn't want us at the wedding? You know, there's so much culture and you know, a lot of people had opinions in regards to how authentic to culture it was and being part of the movie. I found it to be very authentic. You know, when I say to people I'm Armenian, well, are you Persian Armenian? Are you Russian Armenian? Are you, how Armenian are you? And there is so much to being Armenian, so much to being
Right.
German, and the world is so big. So together, why not? Let's uncover and discover new aspects of these fantastic cultures. And with
Yeah.
them going to Spain, as my character said, ole, and let's do it.
Yes, I remember that scene. It was very memorable.
Thank you.
So, Gregory, is there anything else you've been up to since That's Amor?
Yeah, since I talked to you last, I play Sheriff Sam Rogers in Mystery Incorporated. It's
Right.
a dated version of Scooby-Doo. Almost 2.9 million views. It's on YouTube. It's turned into a really fantastic phenomenon. I am so proud to be part of it. It's with the guy, since you saw 86 Melrose Avenue, which is available on Amazon,
Right.
video on demand. It's with Dade Elza, the guy that plays the shooter in the movie. And he is phenomenal. And he plays Fred, and it is part of his dream child with his fiancee, Jessica Chancellor. He plays Daphne. And it's this group of people that created this phenomenal Scooby-Doo experience. And we have been so supported and so loved. So we are doing a lot more and very excited to bring you more. And then I just wrapped my first horror flick, and it's called Martinez, Margaritas, and Murder. And it's directed by James Helsing, and it's with this phenomenal cast of characters: Nicole Tom from The Nanny, Bonnie Aarons from The Nun 1 and 2, and just Kyle Withers, who just a group of people. And he loves classic horror flicks. And this is a delicious movie because all of us are possible suspects. And it's
like a Clue situation.
Oh my God. Yeah. And here's what I love is he, again, all cast of characters, inclusive of every ethnic color. And then there's a guy named Danny who is in a wheelchair and he's paralyzed from the waist down, and just some really phenomenal people that are telling a really fun story. So I'm very, very proud of that. We come out in early 2023.
Okay, sounds good. Well, Gregory, I really appreciate you taking the time sitting with me and talking about your projects, especially That's More. So That's More is currently available on Netflix. Go watch it. It is a top 10 hit on the Netflix charts, and we hope to see more of you in the future, Gregory.
Thank you so much for always being so kind and generous to me. And together, let's say,
Ole. Oh, you would like to get it together?
1,
Okay.
2, 3.
Ole.
Ole.